and welcome to Slow-Mo's YouTube channel. So now we're going to get into day 3. So barrier islands. Barrier islands are going to be really narrow islands, and they're going to be parallel to the coast. And these are basically a big deposition of sand and stuff, and they block a lot of things from hitting the mainland, like hurricanes. And so they act kind of like protection for the mainland. They're going to take the brunt of a storm, while the mainland will kind of get a little break from it because of these barrier islands. So it's basically a big deposit, okay, right, parallel to the shore, to the mainland. And you can read more about this on page 54. A barrier flat is going to be a gently sloping area that's lower in elevation from the sand dunes. So let me get my fancy schmancy laser pointer. And so here's the ocean over here. And then as we go up the beach, we're going to have our dunes. And then there's going to be the barrier flat right behind that. And that's going to lead you back to the lagoon. And then if you kept going this way, you would eventually get to the mainland. So this is the barrier flat. Not necessarily super flat, but it's going to be pretty flat. But it is also kind of gently sloping, but it's called a barrier flat. And this is on page 54. The beach profile is super important. And what I did for this is I actually took up 2 squares in my brain dump. So that might be something that you want to do. Two squares right next to each other, so I could do it lengthwise and draw it out. This is all on page 55, so you can take a look at that. I'm going to have to kind of squish some stuff in here. But over here on the right-hand side, I've got my ocean. Okay. And then I'm going to have my swash zone right here. This is going to be the part that's getting covered and uncovered and covered and uncovered by the waves. And then right next to that, I'm going to have my forebeach. I'm just going to write 4 so it fits. So here's my forebeach. And then next to that, I'm going to have my back beach right here. And in between there, this is the berm. And so there's forebeach is in front, closer to the water, right? And then back beach is behind that. And the berm is that transition zone kind of between them. And then, of course, way over here, I have my dunes. Okay, you can come and take a look at my drawing if you like. A lagoon is a shallow body of water that's going to be separate from the open ocean. And so there's not going to be any source of fresh water. And so here you're going to be able to find this on page 56. Storm surge is when a hurricane pushes water from the ocean towards land. Whenever I think of storm surge, I think of like when you sweep water. You know, like if you've ever had to sweep water off of a sidewalk or something like that, you push it and it all surges forward. And so that's kind of what the hurricane is doing. And so a lot of flooding is going to be caused by storm surge, not necessarily by rain falling and things like that, which does add to it. But storm surge is actually going to push a lot of water ahead of the storm. So sometimes before you even see the storm, you'll start seeing the storm surge come ahead of the storm. So the water on the beach will start to rise. This is on page 57 and also page 90. A longshore current is going to be a current that moves along the shore, and it's going to transport sediment. And this is called longshore drift. And this is on page 58. A washover channel and a washover fan. So a channel, it cuts across a barrier island, and it's going to be formed by waves from a major storm. A washover fan is not quite cutting all the way across. It's not going to go all the way through. So a channel will cut all the way through. So you can see that right here. And over here, you can see that the water is all the way through, but then a washover fan, it kind of just doesn't make it. It just kind of cuts in a little bit, but it's not able to cut all the way through. And this is on page 59 and also page 76. Tides are going to be the daily rise and fall of water in the ocean, and this is all caused by gravity of the sun and the moon. And so you've got two different types of tides. One is the spring tide and one is the neap tide. So for a spring tide, you have the full moon, or it's either during the full moon or it's during the new moon, and they're all lined up, right? So they're lined up with the sun. So these tides are going to be more extreme because the sun and the moon are working together. And then during a neap tide, the tides are not as noticeable or is not as extreme because the moon's not working with the sun. The sun is pulling from a different direction while the moon is pulling from another. And so you're not going to have as extreme tides during a neap tide during the first quarter moon or the third quarter moon phases. Because remember, even though the sun is really far away, it still has an effect on Earth. And one way that it affects us is tides. And if you look at the picture on the left, this is the Bay of Fundy in Nova Scotia. So they have some of the most extreme tides. And you can read a little bit more about this on page 58. A tidal inlet is a channel through which water flows as a result of rising or falling tides. And so you're going to have water coming in and out as the tide rises, right? It'll come in, and then as the tide recedes, right, you have that ebb. And you can read about this on page 61 and 64. Finally, waves. Make sure that you know what a wavelength is. So that's going to be from crest to crest is a wavelength. And then the wave height is from the crest to the trough. So right here, this would be your wave height from the crest to the trough. Okay, so let me know if you have any questions or if you want to take a look at my brain dump. I'll see you guys later. Thank you for visiting Somo's YouTube channel. Look for us on Facebook, Instagram, and Snapchat. And don't forget to like and subscribe.